Hey, this is Anney.
And Samantha.
And welcome to Stuff I Never Told You, a production of iHeartRadio. And today we are so excited to once again be joined by friend of the show, contributor to the show, Joey. Welcome, Joey.
Hello. Thanks for having me. So excited to be back, as always.
Yes, you've got to come on. We've got to have you on twice in a pretty quick succession. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Doesn't only happen. And you are, I hope you don't mind me saying, I've said it before, a fellow nerd.
Yeah. What? Who told you that?
I think you did.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Instagram.
And we're doing a lot of nerd content this month being August. I think this might come out a little bit later, but because this is when I go to Dragon Con, which is kind of this annual event. It's huge. I plan a lot of my year around it. I don't know what that says about me. But because of that, we have been doing a lot of content around fandom and conventions. And you, last time we were talking, said that you were going to a new convention, FlameCon, which is specifically geared towards queer folks, right?
It is. So, first of all, totally understand the planning your whole year around it. I did get a text from my friend this morning that was like, we need to figure out our New York Comic Con plans, which is in October, which is less than 2 months away. And I'm already like, oh no, I'm behind. There's so many things I need to do. But you know what? I think that's beautiful. And it's great that, yeah. Anyways, what I'm actually talking about today. Yes. This past weekend, as of when we're recording this, so like mid-August right now, I went to FlameCon, which is this comic book convention in New York that is specifically, like you said, specifically kind of geared towards queer creators and fans. It actually has been around since 2015, which means this was the 10th year that it has been around. I didn't see anything like highlighting that at this, which I was kind of surprised about. But I don't know, maybe I just missed something. But yeah, I thought that was cool that this was like the 10th year this has been around. And kind of, you know, like you, Anney, I have gone to Comic-Con in New York, and I've been to the one in Chicago a couple times, both of which are like fairly big. I'm assuming Dragon Con's probably pretty similar. They're in like big convention centers. There's like a lot of things happening. This one I like because it's a little bit smaller. It's a little bit more niche. Although I definitely did notice this year that there was a bigger turnout than I had expected. But yeah, so this was my second time going. I went 2 years ago for the first time. That was super fun. Had a great time. So I was like, definitely going to go back this year. It ended up landing around the same time as one of my friends' birthdays. So we did like a big birthday celebration for them. But yeah, it's really fun. It came up when we were talking about kind of future episodes, and I was like, I'll come in and talk about my experience at FlameCon because I had a fun time, and I think this is a cool event, and I think it should, you know, hopefully get a little bit more eyes on it. I think that would be great. But yeah.
I'm so interested in this because I've been to like Comic-Con in New York, Dragon Con. Dragon Con's huge. I've been to a couple of smaller ones, conventions, but I've never been to one that sounds quite like this. So I'm really interested in that. I've got to ask, what did you cosplay as anything?
I did. Yeah. Okay. So this actually was, as I mentioned, this is the second time I've gone. I went 2 years ago. When I went then, I didn't cosplay. It was a very like last minute thing. So I was sort of like, just gonna go and have fun. This time, I did cosplay both days. First day, I was Wiccan from the Young Avengers, or if you're following all the Disney Plus TV shows, also in Agatha All Along. One of my favorite characters, and my friend whose birthday it was, who I was going with, was dressed as Hulkling, who's his boyfriend. That was super fun. I always love doing couple cosplays with people that I'm like not dating, because it's great to see everybody be like, you guys are so cute, and just be like, thanks, we're just besties. But that was super fun. I think because of that, Anney, I don't know if you've had like a similar experience, but I think like going in cosplay is definitely different than just kind of going in normal everyday clothes.
Oh yeah.
The first time I went, right. So the first time I went like 2 years ago, I spent a lot of time going to different panels and stuff. I feel like this time it was sort of, there was a moment like the night before where I was talking with my friends I was going with, and I had a second where I was like, wait, so we're all like, we all just spent money to get dressed up and go shopping for like a couple hours and get our picture taken, which is nice. Yeah, I do think, especially like if you're going in costume, and especially if it's a character that's like recognizable, I would say at least like 20 minutes of my day total ended up just being stopping and taking pictures, which personally, I love attention. So I had so much fun with that. I know it's not for everybody, but I was like, great. It's like microdosing being a celebrity. Like, yes, it is me. I am him. Exactly.
I love that. So I don't know much about this convention, obviously. I barely know much about Dragon Con, and that's because, it's here. And it took me a long time to figure it out. So is this like multiple day
so
convention
it's a 2-day
as
thing.
well? Okay.
Yeah, it's 2 days. It's a little bit shorter than they usually are. Again, I think it's a smaller event. It's definitely like much more fan-led than it is like by these big corporations, these big media corporations, which you can definitely tell, I think, in the like panels that are up and kind of the way it's set up. It feels much more kind of like indie, which is cool. I really like that. I think like something that really stood out that made this different than like New York Comic Con or Dragon Con is the panels. I'll be real, this year I didn't end up actually going to that many panels because I spent a lot of it. I think, again, I was going with a big group of friends and was dressed up, and I'll get to later. I spent a lot of time just like walking around and talking to artists, which that's always my favorite part of these things. I did go to one panel. To be totally honest, I was not super impressed by it, but I'm not going to make a judgment on the rest of them because, again, I went to just this one. I'm sure the rest were lovely. But a lot of the panels are, when you go to like a New York Comic Con or Dragon Con or something, a lot of times it's panels that are led by like the creators. It's led by, it'll feature like actors or writers or people that are like in the thing, in the industry making these things. They're often put on by like Disney or Warner Brothers or, other companies. I have in my notes, insert video game company. That's a blind spot for me.
Sony.
Thank you. There we go. But for this kind of thing, it was a lot more like it would be people that are fans of the thing that are like, there was, panels about like fan fiction and about like how, getting into cosplay and how to like start in that and start crafting things, which I think is really cool and fun. They're also, obviously, again, this was like a queer focused event. So there were some events that were talking about, specifically issues of like being queer and trying to break into different media spaces right now, especially when it's a little bit murky in some ways. There's a lot of things. I don't know if people are aware, but there's a lot of weird things happening legislatively right now. Not sure if this is common knowledge, but that is something I think like I really appreciate about this kind of event is I think it does kind of give the mic over to the fan side of things, which I think is important in fandom spaces. Like fandom is the fans. It is, obviously all of this exists because of these pieces of media or whatever you have it. But at the end of the day, it is fandom operates because it's people creating a lot of times these things like totally for free, just like out of like because it's something that they love and they care about. So yeah, I think that was very cool.
That's awesome. Again, so just going into this one because we had a lot of controversy with Dragon Con with the first creator and then it being like this is no longer who's associated with this. This is actually a bigger company and we only do Dragon Con. Am I right, Anney? Like it's not like they're connected with the other cons. It's Atlanta's own thing. It's not a big company.
It's Atlanta's own thing.
Right. So just out of curiosity, is this kind of like that? Like, is it
I think
like
it
from
is.
one organization, or was it just like a group of people like, hey, we're queer, we love this type of stuff, and we want a safe spot. Also, we want to make it our own cool thing instead of this corporate BS. Like, is that what essentially?
Yeah, I think it is. I know it was sponsored by like Kickstarter and like a couple other, organizations. The thing that I thought was interesting though too is like even the sponsors, it was like things that are again like Kickstarter, which a lot of times is more for indie smaller creators. They there was some like signings and things like that, but oftentimes it was more like writers and smaller creators, which I think like especially as things like Comic-Con and Dragon Con and whatever like get bigger, there's less space for like the indie side of things. But yeah, again, I think like I don't know a ton about like the organizing side of things for this, but it like at least seems to be like fairly like grassroots coming from the fans. Again, it is cool, I think, to see like this year. It definitely was like a bigger turnout than I had seen like 2 years ago. It'll be interesting to see like if this continues, maybe they're going to end up moving into like a bigger space or something. There definitely were like a lot of people there Saturday. But it definitely is like a very different vibe. I think especially if you're somebody who's like maybe not as, I'm not going to say it wasn't crowded because it was crowded again, like Saturday. There definitely were like a lot of people for the space. But I think for some people, I understand like going to like a big convention center can be really overwhelming. And this, I think, was like a smaller sort of version of that. It feels a little bit more manageable. Yeah. And I'm the kind of person when I go to like New York Comic-Con, I've never been a big like, I want to go do the like celebrity photo shoots or like, there's whatever, meet and greets or whatever. Like, that's not really my thing. So I think I really like this because it was more like geared towards people that are interested in like meeting creators, talking to creators, talking about the industry. And like, as I said, I spent a lot of my time kind of on the like artist floor. I love that. So definitely like the majority of the space was kind of in like, I know for New York Comic Con, they call it like Artist Alley. I don't know if it wasn't necessarily just an alley. It was kind of like it was the majority of the space, which I thought was really cool. It's a lot of like, people are so talented. It is so cool to see what people create. Like, I feel like honestly, the best part for me is just like getting to walk around and be like, wow, people are so cool. There's so much cool things that people are making. I did spend way too much money. But you know what? we're supporting small independent queer artists, which one of my friends had said something after the first day where she was like, you know what? 90% of the money that I was spending was just me being like, wow, you're doing amazing work. Please keep this up. I want to support you. Which is, how I was justifying it to myself too, and being like, I definitely don't need another print to put on my wall, but why not? It's for a good cause. The cause is my happiness.
Exactly.
Yeah. And something else that I really like about, I think this is something that happens at like any of these sort of like conventions or like nerd culture spaces, but like, the artists too. And I think because it was like a smaller venue, there was more of this, but like, if you're an artist going into this too, it's oftentimes people that are also like fans of these things, that are really into these things. And I think it like my favorite thing is just kind of going around and like having conversations with people. Like I had some like really lovely conversations, just like walking around. Like it is just kind of a space for people to be able to like talk about like their weird nerdy interests. And like, I think especially as somebody who like a lot of times was kind of, especially I think when I was a kid, I always was like, I can't talk about this. I like, this is weird. This is something that makes me like different. I don't want to like, whatever. It's cool to be able to like actually engage with these things and actually be able to like talk about it. And in obviously like such a queer space. But yeah, like going around and like talking to artists, like there was one vendor who like, we had a lovely like 10-minute conversation about like how to organize fan fiction. And like, this was somebody who was like, I used to be a librarian. I have this whole system. And I was like, wait, I need to take notes. This sounds so good. But like at the end of it, they were like, I was like buying a keychain from them and they were like, here, I'll give you another one for free. And I was like, that's so nice. Like people are so nice. And it really just like feels like this very like loving, like encouraging space where people are just like, yeah, like share things that they're passionate about.
Mm-hmm. Question I wanted to ask is, in general, when they make a space as being like, this is queer specific centric, and not often, especially nowadays, and we've talked about this previously, this it's more of like, that's just an ad more than an actuality.
Right.
So did you really feel like the space was a safe space, which I know people are like, oh, that's such a weird word, but like a safe space, but also inviting space for and being centered around queer people? Or did you think that was just like,
I think it was. I mean, it definitely walking into this space kind of feels similar to like walking into like a gay bar for me. You know, like it is something where it is definitely like led by queer people wanting to make this a space for queer people, as opposed to, okay, so on the one hand, I do feel like oftentimes Comic-Con nerd spaces end up being very queer. That might just be like my bias from like who I'm hanging out with, but like, you know, usually, like, I've never had, like, a bad experience at, like, a New York Comic-Con or at, like, C2E2 in Chicago or something like that. A lot of times, too, I do feel like, you know, there are the niches for things. Like, you can find the specific, like, queer media that you want. But for this, I think it was, like, much more focused on, where even, like, again, I was cosplaying Wiccan the first day. I had cosplayed this character a couple of years ago at New York Comic Con, and I had I got recognized like a couple times. Like I had a couple people ask for like this time. It was like everybody who saw me was like, yes, Wiccan. So it was like interesting to see which characters like people would recognize. There was a lot more of like ship like art and like focusing on characters that were queer, which I think that was cool. There was a lot more like. You know, it is interesting, too, because I think another thing, the flip side of nerd spaces a lot of times is, like, the, like, very, very, very staunch misogyny and, like, hypersexualization of women. And it is kind of cool to walk around and be like, wow, this time it's all just male characters being drawn that way. Which, you know, my one complaint is there was a lot of gay fan art. There was not a lot of lesbian fan art. I think we need more lesbian fan art. I wish I'd seen a little bit more of that. But at the same time, it was there. It was like, it felt, yeah, again, I think going back to what you were saying, yes, it felt like a safe space. It felt like it genuinely was geared towards queer people as opposed to just sort of like the corporate, like, yes, we love gay people until it's no longer safe and profitable for us.
Right.
Yeah. Which then brings me to kind of what I was seeing a lot of this year. What's hot, what's in, what's hip. There was.
I did. You were just making fun of me just now.
That was not my intention. That was not my intention. I have definitely had Samantha ask me what's hip before, but
what's hip? Tell me what's hip now. Come on,
Samantha's trying so hard.
Tell me how cool I can be.
So cool, the coolest. Anyway.
Okay.
I text my friends that I went with right before this. I was like, all right, like, what do you guys remember like seeing a lot of? And my one thing I had in my outline was K-pop Demon Hunters, and they all responded with K-pop Demon Hunters.
Yeah,
which,
I knew
see?
it.
Yes.
I'm cool.
Yeah.
I know what that is. That's all I got.
I'm so proud of you. That's, yeah,
Thank you.
I knew you would know that one. Yeah. Which I thought that was really cool. Again, I saw the movie. I think it came out like 2 months ago. I thought it was very impressive that like people were able to pull together like cosplays and fan arts so quickly. There was a lot of merch for this thing. It, you know, yeah, it is hot right now. It's I enjoyed the movie. It was cool to. There was a lot of very cool like pins and like buttons or like stickers and stuff like that. I saw a couple of cosplayers too. That was really sick. Obviously, always a lot of DC and Marvel at these things. Surprise, surprise, a queer comic book event. There's a lot of X-Men. Who would have thought? I actually was originally supposed to do X-Men the second day, and then I woke up that morning and I was like, because I was going to be Kitty Pryde, who I think should be considered a gay and trans icon just because Elliot Page plays her in the movies. And also the character that she dates for a very long time, they end up making a gay man. So I was like, it's kind of funny. They accidentally did a like male gay relationship without even trying. But yeah, I woke up Sunday morning and I was like, I don't want to wear a wig. So I showed up as Superboy, 90s Superboy, if anybody knows that. Yeah. The gayest one, of course. And yeah, I was with a group of my friends that were all X-Men, and I was like, and I'm here too.
I belong.
Some couple of shout outs. One of my favorite costumes I saw, there was a Dazzler cosplayer. So impressed. She was wearing roller skates the entire time. I don't know how she did it. I think my friend had asked her something at one point, or asked her about it. And she was like, oh yeah, I like perform like this, so it's fine. Which I have no balance. So yeah, shout out there. If you don't know, Dazzler is an X-Men character. She's kind of like a pop star in the X-Men universe. So she's like very Taylor Swift meets Kesha kind of vibes. She's fun. Another fave I saw was the Winter Soldier with a fully bedazzled arm. That was beautiful. 10 out of 10. Love it. I am currently attempting to make a Winter Soldier arm for October. So
you've come to the right place.
I might be texting you
years
with
of experience.
Yeah.
I have 4
I've never done
versions.
before. Okay, I definitely need to ask you then, because I've never I'm a seamstress. I don't really do like foam or anything. So this is going to be my first attempt delving into that. Yeah. There were a couple of Yelena and Bucky cosplayers. Thunderbolts came out recently, makes sense. Also both. Kind of going back to what you were asking before, Samantha, I do think it is interesting too to see like which kind of characters get like who are sort of just by like looking out and seeing who's here, who are the honorary or who are the gay icons here, which yeah. I watched Thunderbolts and I was like, everybody in this movie is queer. I'm sure many people didn't have that takeaway.
One of my favorite headlines I've ever read was writers of Winter Soldier perplexed by erotic takes on the movie.
Okay, that brings me to my next point. The Stucky Renaissance is real. It's happening. There was so much Stucky fan art. Winter Soldier came out, over 10 years ago at this point?
Yes, at least.
There was also one of the artists I was talking to, because they had a zine, like a Stucky zine, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I need this. I was talking to them and I was like, yeah, I like watched Thunderbolts and it like reawoke like a part of my brain that's been dormant for like 5 years. Like I was like, oh, I used to be so into this. Like I love it. And then it was like, I forgot. And then like Thunderbolts, it was like, wait a minute. Yes. Bucky Barnes. What a guy. And they were like, open the first page. And the first page of the scene is like a little cartoon of them being like, me and my friends watch Thunderbolts. And I was like, wait a minute. These are like, we should go back and watch Winter Soldier. Those are good movies. Like the greatest gay love story of all time. Yeah, I would love to sit down with like the like creative crew behind the Russo brothers or whatever, like who were doing the Winter Soldier and like Civil War movies, and just be like, how did you not see that this was like where this was going? Like this was like peak Tumblr, like queer baiting era. Come on, anyways.
I'm going to have to find that article for you because they have hilarious quotes in there. It is
God.
Funny. They're all like, what?
I just saw a TikTok video of a woman she's like had a picture of Bucky Barnes in like on her computer, and her boss came through and he's like, wait, you're a lesbian? She's like, yeah, obviously.
I know so many lesbians that are obsessed with Bucky Barnes. Again, Bucky Barnes is a gay icon. There's so much evidence. First of all, he is absolutely queer. Those movies, I can't imagine watching Winter Soldier and not being like, so this is a love story. Right. But he's just such a, I know so many lesbians that are obsessed with him too. There's something so...
Apparently.
Anyways, we are in the middle of the Bucky Barnes Renaissance, the Stucky Renaissance, and I think that is beautiful. Also, a lot of Superman, This was another one where I was like, actually, I think we did, like, Superman is kind of a gay icon. There's a lot of, particularly, I think, like, cis gay men that I think gravitating towards Superman as a character, which I love seeing that too, on the being kind of on the other side of like primarily being in like lesbian spaces. I'm always like, what are the guys into? What is the
what is the trend today?
What is going on? Yeah. But there were a lot of Superman. Surprisingly, not a lot of Superbat stuff. Would have loved to see a little bit more of that, but you know, it's all right. It's all right. The TikTok edits have been stellar for that. If anybody's spent a lot of time scrolling through the David Cornsweet, Robert Pattinson Superbat edits on TikTok.
Interesting.
But yeah, and so yeah, and again, like I said, lots of X-Men, all the classics. Something that I thought was really cool about like the cosplay sides of things that I think was unique to this event is there were a lot of cosplayers that incorporated elements of drag also into their costumes. My friend Hackett, who I went with, who was cosplaying Hulkling the first day alongside my Wiccan, they were also kind of like, they like made a point to do sort of like drag king style makeup for the costume. If you're not familiar, the character is green. So they did a full green makeup, which literally I got there and they were like still in the middle of doing their makeup. And I was like, I'm running late. And I was like, oh, I just have to put on like a bodysuit and I'm done. Yay. But I think that is something that is like cool about this event specifically compared to other sort of cosplay events like New York Comic Con or something. There's more of the like drag element, which I think is really cool. Which brings me to talking about kind of the like intersections of drag and cosplay, because I think this is something that has gotten a little bit more, it is like kind of a subsect of drag that I think has gotten a little bit more attention lately. And yeah, obviously, like if you're at an event like this that is specifically like aimed at or geared towards the queer community, there were a lot of people that were like drag queens as well, that were, yeah, like a lot of very cool like drag queen, X-Men type cosplays. A lot of other characters that looked very cool that I couldn't. It is fun to go around with the group and like try to figure out like all of our collective knowledge, like who are the being like, okay, wait, I don't know what that person is, but like somebody here probably does.
Oh, I love that part.
It's always so fun. Yeah. Which brings me to talk about another event that I mentioned to you guys, which was about a month ago. There was a DC-themed drag show that I went to that was in New York that is hosted by a group called Oddball, Odd spelled A-U-D. It is produced by the drag queen Suddenly Audrey, hence the name. But they've been doing these shows for like a minute. I'm not sure exactly how long it's been around. It might like a year or two. They did a really cool Star Wars themed one for May the 4th that I went to, which Anney, this reminds me, I need to send you some videos from that. It was so cool.
I also went to a drag show on May the 4th.
Yes,
Star Wars themed drag show.
Yes. But that's exactly kind of what I think is really interesting, is I feel like this specific intersection, like, to me, cosplay and drag have always been like very connected, but I think like it hasn't been given as much attention as like a lot of more like quote unquote traditional forms of drag. I thought it was interesting that like the drag queen Megami, who is like based in Brooklyn, she was on RuPaul's Drag Race recently. She's somebody who like I had originally followed her for her cosplay content. Like she has done a lot with like mining cosplay and drag. But yeah, if you're interested in like, if you're in the New York area, I definitely would recommend checking out Oddball. They're amazing. They have some amazing performers. One of my favorite drag kings, Max Pleasure, is really involved with it. And he did a like Clark Kent Superman one that was making its rounds on the internet. You know, that was amazing. There was a drag king Superman, which was amazing. This person also had gone viral recently for doing a Edward Cullen themed drag show, which I am now realizing I need to send to producer Christina as well. And yeah, I love this event. I love this show because it combines like obviously two of my favorite things are cosplay and drag. But yeah, like for me personally, I would say like my kind of into getting into like my own kind of drag, I'm very early to like, don't ask me what my drag king name is yet. I've changed it like 3 times. Or TBD.
Okay.
But like, for me, that was kind of my method, or my route in was cosplay. Obviously, like, a lot of people get into drag because it is kind of a safe way to explore gender expression and presentation. And to me, like, that's kind of what cosplay was early on, too. I started getting into cosplay around, like, 2021, 22. It was still sort of, like, the early aftermath of the pandemic. I, like, also had just graduated and kind of, like, had all of a sudden all this free time and was like, I maybe should get into, like, hobbies I always wanted to as a kid. So, like, I was using drag, like, I was making TikToks online. I was like, it was like a fun, silly way to kind of keep partaking in, like, creative activities. Around this point, like, I, at that point, kind of knew that I wasn't cisgender, but I was still sort of exploring, like, what that meant to me. And I think, like, for me, cosplay was a way to kind of explore different versions of masculinity, different, like, look at, a lot of times our images of gender come from fiction, come from, like, the images around us. So I was able to be like, okay, what happens if I lean into this character that I really have, like, identified with, whatever. Again, I kind of at this point had, like, known I was trans for a little bit at that point, but, like, I definitely, like, I have friends that sort of were able to come out through, like, making cosplay videos and being like, actually, I feel way more comfortable dressing this way or presenting this way. Which it's, again, I think very similar to drag for a lot of people. A lot of, obviously not everybody, like, plenty of cis people also do drag, but, I've been going back and rewatching a bunch of not rewatching, I'm watching them for the first time. I'm so sorry, I'm a terrible gay, but I have been watching a lot of the old, like, RuPaul's Drag Race seasons for the first time, and it's really interesting to, like, see how many, like, contestants on the show have come out as trans since then. Like, there have been a lot that I'm like, oh, I know you because you're this, like, trans icon now, but, like, it's cool to see you, like, go through that journey. So yeah, I think, like, these are two sort of, like, art forms that have a lot in common. They have a lot of overlap. I think it's really cool to see, like, this, again, like, that sort of combo getting a lot more mainstream attention. I think, like, getting to be in a space that celebrates both and celebrates the ways that, because oftentimes I'm, like, either doing some sort of, like, cosplay thing where it's, like, more focused on that side of things. It's, I have some lovely straight friends that are cosplayers who, not for me, but I'm happy for them and I'm an ally. But like, obviously not always, like, super queer spaces. And then on the flip side, sometimes it's like I go to a lot of drag shows. I do love drag. Like, I think it is really important to just, like, celebrate drag in general. But, like, it's cool to also get the opportunity to be like, yeah, what would happen if, like, Emma Frost was a drag queen? I do have on the back burner, I've had a Red Hood themed drag king act that I want to do at some point. I just, like, have not had the opportunity to. So if anybody wants to hire me to do that, my DMs are open, but just saying. But anyways, yeah, I had a great weekend, had a great time. I think, again, it's so cool to see, like, people are so creative. There were some really cool costumes that I saw. Like, I probably stopped, like, at least 100 people to be like, oh my God, I love your outfit. You look so good. So yeah, just felt like a great space. And yeah, if this seems like the kind of event that you'd be interested in, it is August every year. So unfortunately, you're going to have to wait another year, I guess, till the next one, but more time to plan.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
true.
So for those who are new to going to cons and really are excited about going to something like this, how would you tell them, let's say it's their first time? Because, I didn't go to the first con until pre-pandemic, but it was like a couple of years before the pandemic because I was so anxious about all that. So I needed a pep talk. What would your pep talk be to prepare someone to come into a con?
First of all, like, totally understandable because, like, literally same. It was definitely something for, like, forever. I was like, I've always wanted to go to New York Comic Con, but I, like, never have. And then for me, it ended up happening, like, literally just because I was going to be in town, like, that. I was still living in Chicago at the time, but I was, like, going to be in New York that week anyway. So I was like, sure, like, some of my friends are going, might as well. I think the biggest thing is I totally got that because I'm also somebody who I think, like, I can be a very anxious person. I think going into a new thing that you haven't done before. Obviously very nerve-wracking. Just do it. Like, it is so fun. You're gonna have so much fun. You know, obviously, like, know what your limits are. If you're somebody that doesn't really like crowds, I would say try not to go on like a Saturday. Those are usually the busiest days. But yeah, I honestly think my best advice is like, just go for it. Like, just, you don't have to cosplay your first time you go. Like, again, my first time that I went to this thing, I just was wearing like a t-shirt and shorts probably. I think like you can, yeah, like if you want to just go and like see what's up, see what's going on. I've, for the most part, had a really great time. I've like mostly had really great interactions with people. Again, I think like this kind of thing, because it's something that it's like people are just kind of passionate about, and like, you know, it's just people like exploring things that they enjoy and they want to talk about. Like, people are generally pretty nice about that and pretty open-minded. So yeah, just do the thing. Yay.
One of the great things about a space like that, and even something like Dragon Con, which I think we have to get you at, Joey.
I do, yeah. When is it? It's
Labor Day weekend.
Always Labor Day weekend.
But it's a hybrid of Comic-Con and something like that. I think it's actually much more fan driven than anything else. But they do have big celebrities there. But I don't go to any panels. It's about the costumes and all of that stuff. But anyway, one of the great things about those spaces is that people post, like if you go onto the Dragon Con Reddit right now and you're like, I'm nervous, I've never been, people will tell you, here are my tips.
Yeah.
So people are out there for you, and they'll give you pretty honest advice. And what I love about this too is fandom notoriously has a bad record of being gatekeeping. So it's nice to see that we're getting more women and people of color and queer people in spaces like a huge event like Dragon Con. But it's also nice to know that like this space is specifically for us.
Exactly. Because I think that is like, I have seen the same thing where I think like, especially, you know, when I was like growing up, it was always kind of like, oh, it was weird that you were like a girl that was into Star Wars, like that kind of thing, which, and again, like I was younger, so I wasn't really in a lot of these like spaces, but it was like online stuff and whatever. There was a lot of gatekeeping. I think I've definitely seen, especially because like a lot of this stuff has gone like more mainstream too. It has gotten a lot more like friendly towards, like women and people of color and queer people. But it is also nice to have that space where like, if I start talking about Stucky, nobody's going to be like, wait, what? Like, and yeah, I think again, like kind of what you said with the Reddit threads, like at the end of the day, it's important to remember like everybody going to this is like a fucking nerd. Like we're all dorks. Like we're all kind of like, again, it is sort of a space where you get to just be your like weirdest self. And I think like that's the beautiful thing about it is like nobody's going to judge you. Nobody's going to, or maybe they will, but they're going to keep it to themselves. Like nobody's going to say anything to you. It is all kind of like, it really does feel like a safe space. And I think that I think is very nice to have. Another just like quick note I would say is because I definitely like, before going to like New York Comic Con or whatever, was sort of like, oh no, I need to like figure out like, are there panels that I want to go to? Like, how am I going to spend my whole time? The day goes by so fast. Again, I literally spent like 90% of my time just like walking around and like talking to artists and like looking at stuff that people were selling and like talking to like people that were there. You get like, yes, if you want to go to panels, if you want to go to like photo shoots, do that, find those things. Like, I would recommend maybe figuring out when they're going to be ahead of time and making sure like, okay, I have like 10 minutes to go walk over to the other side of the venue. But you don't have to, like, you can totally just go to one of these things and not go to a single panel. Like, it's still fun. I've done that before and I've had a great time. So yeah, I wouldn't stress about the like having to plan out every moment of the day and making sure I'm doing like something and making the most of the money that I spent on the ticket, because you're going to have fun. You're going to have fun either way. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And if that's something you're interested in, then definitely plan out the panels. But otherwise, yeah, you're not going to be lacking for seeing amazing creativity. And that's what I love. I just love seeing the things people come up with that are so niche and so funny and creative and amazing.
Mm-hmm.
That won me over. I used to go to panels all the time, and now I'm like, maybe I'll go to a panel.
Maybe you'll be on a panel.
Maybe.
There was a like X-Men podcast panel one of the days that I was gonna go to because I was like, I should industry. This is my thing. And then I think I like literally ended. I was at like they had like a cosplay contest that was like right before it. That I was just sort of like, okay, I could leave this early, or like this has been fun. Maybe I'll just stay. Like that kind of thing. So yeah.
Yeah. I did a panel once. I was on a panel, but
you've been on panels.
It was great. It was great. But I definitely was like, I've got to do this thing. I would rather be watching.
Yeah. It is kind of nice to just be able to, like just be able to walk around and not think about like, it's like, you know, when you like, I feel like it's like when you go on vacation, there's like two ways of doing it. And there's one where you're just like, I'm just going to like relax and have fun and not do anything. And the other way is the like, I'm going to make the like itinerary of all the million things to do. I have been both versions of that. I've been both people. But it's like, you know, sometimes it's fun to have the whole itinerary and do all the things. And sometimes it's fun to just walk around and see what happens, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Trust me, you will see things that you're like,
you will see things.
I want to go and watch this. But because I love that. Like, honestly, Dragon Con, I'll just be walking around and all of a sudden there's a huge conga line of people from Andor. And I'm like, well, now I'm doing this. So
Yep.
This is my life for the next 20 minutes. And it's nice. You never know what wonderful things you might encounter.
Exactly. And it's always fun, like New York Comic Con, there's always like a couple people that have like they've clearly built this like whole thing and they're on like stilts and there's like a big helmet. And I'm always like,
yes,
kudos to you for I'm like, I've got my Doc Martens on. I am on the ground. I like,
oh yeah, I'm with you.
I'm on the side of, you know, I'd rather just stay comfy and, you know, within reason.
Me as well. But those costumes, I'm so impressed when I see them. And shout out to you. It's not
I love it. Yeah. I was like, shout out to you. I love to see it. I love to experience it. I will not put in the effort to do that, but I love seeing other people do it.
Oh, yeah. Well, and it's also awesome, like, the stories you'll get out of it. Now we're just doing you go to a convention. But the stories you'll get out of it, because one time I like got in an elevator and there was just a Dalek in the elevator. There was no other person. And the Dalek was moving. And I was like, hello? It's just the experiences, the random experiences you can have is pretty great. It's pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for coming on and talking about this.
Course.
Obviously, I could go on and on.
We'll have like a whole like extra 3-hour debrief after this, and we'll just
Well, in the meantime, where can the good listeners find you?
If you want to find me on the internet, I am. You can find me on Instagram or Twitter, although I don't really interact with Twitter that much anymore. But you can find me at Pat Not Pratt. That is PATTNOTPRATT. I actually had I had a new show that I'm starting on, and that I had a totally different pronunciation of my last name that I've never heard before. It was just Pat's. They added an extra S to the end, and I was like, usually I have to tell people not to say Pratt, but I haven't gotten Pat's before. So, you know, anyways, that is not, my last name is Pat. It's 4 letters. It's pretty easy. It just nobody can get it right, apparently. But yeah, you can find me there. It's too simple.
It's deceiving.
I guess if you want to see more of my cosplay stuff, you could find me on TikTok at Hot Topic Dad. That's Hot Topic like the store, and then just Dad, one word. Sorry in advance. But yeah, and you could also listen to a couple other shows that I work on, which are There Are No Girls on the Internet with Bridget Todd, a friend of the show. or Afterlives, which just wrapped up its second season about Marsha P. Johnson. If you are queer or interested in queer history or New York City history or just like things that have happened in the past, you should go ahead and listen to that. Yeah.
Yes. And you can also hear Joey on a couple other episodes on this show.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, listeners, if you haven't checked all of those things out, you should. I'm very excited to talk some cosplay shop with you, Joey.
We have to. I need to I've reached the point, I was like, I know I need to lock in. I'm doing 2 cosplays that I know are going to require a lot of making things for them. And so I was like, all right, I got to get started now. I did do a little bit of rushing the week before for this one, but I was like, I can't do that again. There's going to be too much happening. I did just also find out this group Oddball that did the drag show. They're doing a New York Comic Con after party Saturday night. Shout out to that there if people, are interested. I will probably, but I was all right, I do really want to go. I love this group. I love all the shows they put on. I'm not sleeping this weekend if I go to this. It's not happening.
Yeah. That is the other thing.
So we'll see. Y'all might see me dressed as Vi from Arcane, shaking from having 5 coffees that morning, Sunday of New York Comic Con. Who's to say?
Hey, do what you gotta do. Well, I can't wait we'll have to touch back after that. Check in.
We will. Uh-huh.
Okay. Well, in the meantime, listeners, if you would like to contact us, you can. Our email is hello@stuffI'veNeverToldYou.com. We're also on Blue Sky at Mom Stuff Podcast, or on Instagram and TikTok at Stuff I've Never Told You. We're also on YouTube, and we have a new store for merch, Cotton Bureau. It's got some cool stuff on there, so check that out. And we have a book you can get wherever you get your books. Thanks as always to our super producer, Christina, our executive producer, Maya, and our contributor, Joey, who is here with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks to you for listening. Stuff I Never Told You is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, you can check out the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.